funny, we're reusing this same picture, but in a completely different context. So where I was going to start is by talking about why would a software engineer be all of a sudden interested in cars. Because most people see cars as these complex mechanical things and nothing more. But really, cars today have gone through a lot of innovation, and they're starting to include a lot more electrical systems in them. So this is like a Bentley that has over 100 computers inside of it and sensors that are running over 1 million lines of code in order to operate itself. And so all of these electrical systems are what got me excited in cars. And it's why we started Acerta, which uses the data that comes off of all of these systems to detect and predict failures. So how do we get started as a startup in this space? Well, it wasn't very easy, and it took us actually a really long time to decide how to apply a platform like ours and focus in on a niche where we can actually prove a lot of value. So we started focusing on manufacturing and analyzing cars as they come off the assembly line, which is not the most exciting and sexy way of using a machine learning system today. But being a startup, we needed to generate some hype, so we started working and analyzing autonomous systems. And Waterloo Region being the amazing place that it is, there's actually been an autonomous car built and tested right here in the area for the last year. So we went to CES, it showed how we can apply and scale our tech to actually analyze autonomous vehicles. But being a startup in the automotive sector is really tough. And the biggest reason is because you're dealing with what we call elephants on day to day. These multi-million-dollar car companies that, you come into them, they'll stare at you, they'll listen to whatever you have to say, but at the end of the day, making them move or actually do anything differently is extremely difficult. And so the biggest lesson that I learned running the startup is how to hustle. And so let me tell you a really grueling example that we went through. So being in the software business, you think that everything is connected and everything's collected to the cloud and data's everywhere. Well, it's not really that way, at least not in the auto business, and we learned just how naive we were. And so a lot of this data is actually being just discarded and not stored at all. So being a startup, we decided, okay, we need to get our hands on this data in any way possible. So we purchased about like 5 or so of these hard drives and actually drove to every single plant that we needed to work with in order to just get access to this data to get started and bootstrap ourselves. So it's just how difficult it can be to work in this industry today. But we're a startup and we are optimistic and we believe that the connected world will actually come alive. And so I think the biggest lesson is to keep persistent and make sure this vision actually comes true. Thank you.
We have time for a few questions. So one I have is we were chatting beforehand and you were saying in the last few days you were just in Detroit and you're on your way to Germany very soon as well for meetings as you're pitching yourself. So what is it like, when you're presenting this to some of those big companies? What's your, how do you structure, I don't know if it's a presentation or how do you go about that?
We challenge them. We try to tell them that the way they're doing things today is actually not great at all and that there's a lot of innovation that we can help them achieve. And our biggest goal is to help, create the next generation of vehicles that are going to come alive in the next few years.
I have a question. First of all, I don't know how far along your company is, so excuse me if my question is not relevant. But I was wondering if you have any examples of small wins in this industry that's sort of stubborn and slow to change, like maybe just small things you convince them to change and actually have a result. Any stories to share?
Yeah, for sure. Well, as I said, collecting data is a big one. And after working for months with them, we got them to actually start storing some of it and giving it to us. That was a big win. Another win for us is to help them understand that they can actually start predicting things before they happen. Because right now, the way the industry works is very reactive. We were looking at some stats like last year, 51 million vehicles were recalled in 1 year. And that's like nearly as many as were produced. So there are huge, changes that can be made. And yes, we're taking it one step at a time.
How do you handle like privacy where it comes to user information versus technical information?
We work with factories and pre-production vehicles, so we don't have to face that. All the data is anonymized and it's not yet specific to consumers.
How often did you have to deal with people telling you you don't know what you're talking about, but you really do because you looked at it from a different perspective, and you may not have been in the industry for 30 years, but you learned something really quick and clever?
For a while. I have some industry experience, so I kind of started to learn how to talk to these people. And like over the first half a year of our company, I literally interviewed I think like nearly 300 different people from all across the industry just to understand how they work.
Do you say that that would be your powerhouse when you do go negotiate? What you've learned by your failures in dealing with companies, or just not knowing and going in blindsided then? Or have you incorporated other things outside of that?
No, we failed quite a bit. I think constantly testing the value proposition and talking to anybody we can just to understand what drives the industry and what's gonna, how can we position it in a way that's gonna make them believe us and try it out. So that's had a huge impact.
So maybe I'm going to answer my own question. My question would be, why cars? And I know you said that there seem to be quite a few opportunities in this area, but when you were looking at this market, why did you choose automobiles and not any of the other types of machinery out there that you could look at?
I think the electrification of cars is on the rise right now. I think a lot of other systems like planes, they've had these systems for a while and they've had this idea of collecting data from them. And they're expensive machinery, so it's been happening over a few years, but I think that this rise towards autonomous vehicles and automated vehicles in general is just happening right now, and so that was an exciting opportunity for us to participate in.
Okay, Greta, thank you very much.
Thank you.